What is up, y'all? This is Mo FPV back once again after a pretty long hiatus. I apologize for that. I've been under the weather for quite some time, but we are back now. And what better way to come back than with this little guy right here? This is the sought after, the mythical Kayoumini. It's a 2.5-inch 2S micro quad. You know, it's a frame only. You got to build it up here. I'm gonna show you how to do that if you all want it. And you do want this frame if you're a micro pilot, or to be honest, if you're a 5-inch pilot. You usually fly larger quads. I think this is a great choice. If you follow the channel, you know I like to fly a lot of 3-inch 1S 2S quads, toothpicks. They don't really fly like this, or this doesn't really fly like those. This flies more like a larger quad, and I know you've heard that before, but the flight characteristics on the 2.5-inch prop, especially with the more beefier setup, you know, we have a pretty beefy frame here. The carbon's pretty thick. We got some heavyweight HD VTX in here, DJI 04. Stick around for that, it looks sweet. But I swear, and I say this to someone who rarely flies 5-inch, this thing flies like a 5-inch quad. No, it shares a lot of characteristics with the larger quads that I think, you know, a lot of y'all will like, especially with 04 in it. It makes for something special. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Let's check it out.
Bend the prop, bend it right back.
All right, here we go. Alrighty, so let's get into some flight footage here. This is going to be the Kayoumini using the new 04 system. This is the 04 Lite, obviously here on 2S. And it's going to be, it came in at the heaviest weight out of them all. Upper 60 grams dry. I think it was like 68. I'll weigh it again on the bench here. So, you know, any other build, be it HD0, walk snail. HD0 and walk snail are going to be similar, in my opinion. In weight-wise, I actually could have gotten this 04 even lighter than my walk snail build, but again, I'll go over that more later. But these should all fly pretty similarly, and then analog is going to fly the best, you know, being the lightest here. But you know what's nice about this platform, this 2.5-inch prop size, is it really can handle the extra weight. You know, you're going to have to adjust the tune a bit, and you're going to feel the extra weight if you know, fly it back to back against analog. But it still handles itself really well, and those of you who follow the channel know that I have a soft spot for the 3-inch toothpicks, you know, 3-inch 1S, 2S. This doesn't fly like those, and that's not a bad thing inherently. This 2.5-inch platform, especially with a little bit more weight in the frame. You know, it's beefy carbon. It tends to sink and behave more like a larger quad. You know, it's not going to feel exactly like a 5-inch, but I will say it does have more characteristics with larger quads than it does with micros. When I think of micros, I associate, you know, these lighter, more floaty characteristics that this one doesn't really have. Like, it has a decent amount of float, but it also has a decent amount of sink, and it has a decent amount of throw as well because of the weight. So it really makes for a unique micro experience that I think a lot of pilots, especially those who maybe fly, you know, 3.5, 4-inch, even 5-inch quads, can more easily navigate into versus, you know, maybe a toothpick, a whoop. This is a nice middle ground, a nice meeting point between micro only and maybe a big quad only pilots. Now, it is a windy day. A lot of the footage is going on in the background. You know, no stabilization here. This is just the 04 on 100 frames per second. Looking good. It really does. The only thing I don't like about the 04 is the FOV on the default lens. It's a little bit narrow, but, you know, you're looking at it. If it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't bother you. I think you could probably change the lens out as well, but I haven't looked into anything like that. And what's surprising as well is I'm using a 380 mAh 2S battery, which is small. And this quad, and it's cold today, we've got 30-degree weather, and it's windy, and I'm flying an HD system, and I'm going to get 3 minutes of flight time. So this platform is great. It really is for handling weight. It's efficient. One thing, I'll tell you in a second. I'll tell you at the bench. Stick around to the bench.
And it's freezing. It's like 30 degrees today.
And just take a look at this really quickly. I'm going to go over stabilization in the 04. You're looking at unstabilized footage right now, and then I'm going to switch to stabilized, and you're going to see some issues currently that we have with the 04. This dive looks okay. We're going to slow it down in a second here as well. And also this turn looks okay. Now we're going to compare it to the GyroFlow version. This isn't rock steady, so this is GyroFlow at 15%. Stabilization. You know, when we're flying nice and easy, it looks pretty good. This looks pretty nice, but take a look at this dive. Ready? Horrible shakes that weren't present in a little bit here, and then that isn't present in, you know, our normal DVR footage, which again is here. We're going to slow it down. You know, no real issues. Maybe a little prop wash on the dive recovery from the craft, you know, maybe my bad tune, but it doesn't look too bad to me. But GyroFlow thinks it's real bad, and makes it look horrible. So I guess the short of it is GyroFlow is not going to work as well as you probably want it to with the default prints, but I'll go over that a little bit more later. Alright, so here we are at the bench. I'm going to keep it sort of short and simple here for any of y'all looking to build up one of these, although there are some things I want to know. I guess the first and most important thing, in my opinion, if you're looking to build this up, Kayu recommends these motors, and after testing a couple different motors myself, such as 1202s, I also recommend the motors that they recommend, which are the 1103s. I don't think you should try another motor. This 1103 is perfect for this platform. It is just efficient enough, just powerful enough to complete the package and get close to 3 minutes on a digital setup on a 380 mAh 2S, and over 3 minutes, you know, closer to 3.5 minutes on a lighter analog setup on a 2S 380 mAh battery. And these motors are the 1103, 11,000 kVs. Those are a bit high. 8,000 for digital, I think, is a sweet spot, and you're going to want to stick with those. Beta, I'm using beta motors on the left, on the right, I'm sorry. T motor on the left. The T motor has a shorter motor shaft, which requires me to use prop screws. Don't like that because we gain an extra over a gram in kind of wasted weight, in my opinion. The Beta have the longer normal shafts where you don't need to really mess with that, so keep that in mind. I don't know if it's specific to this blue T motor, but that was something I noticed and was kind of annoyed with. The digital version of the Kayoumini has to be built on at least 14mm standoffs, which they do include. I, however, wanted a little bit of extra space for the 04, so I bought my own 15mm standoffs. not necessary, but if an 04 is new, maybe not as available. I'm not trying to mess it up by having it too close to anything. So, but I've seen builds on 14 millimeters, and if you're confident enough and want that, you can certainly do it. The analog build here is on the 12 millimeter standoff. It's nice and slammed, and it does fly pretty darn good. I'm going to compare the weights really quickly. Where's my scale? All right, so a quick weight comparison. I'm trying not to get the numbers in the light. The analog version helps if you can see. 54.74, right? And this is the DJI 04 edition. 68.24. Now, like I said, we have excess weight in the form of these darn prop screws that I wish I could eliminate. Long antenna. We could trim the wires down. I wasn't trying to save as much weight as possible on the 04 edition. And it does fly pretty well as is. So, all that tells me is, one, I'm lazy, and two, the 2.5-inch platform, especially on these 1103s, can handle the extra weight of an HD system kind of without an issue. You are going to feel a difference in flight performance if you flew them back to back, but this is absolutely acceptable for me, especially knowing we get 4K on board. But if you want a straight up ripper, I would recommend the analog. I would recommend to slam it out like this. I would probably add an extra weight in the form of these larger motor protectors. Kayu offers them on their websites. This is the TPU motor protectors, and you can just bash the heck out of this thing, man, and it will really be fine. A lot of fun. And what I noticed about these quads is that they really do fly like larger quads. Don't know what it is. What I think it is a combination between the weight, especially a larger digital setup here has more weight on it. The frame itself is beefy, and the 2.5-inch prop size doesn't have as much float as maybe a 3-inch 1S, the toothpicks I like to fly. They kind of sink more into their moves. You can still chuck them, you can still throw them. It just kind of retains a larger quad flight experience, which many people would like. And it's a good transition. It's a nice meeting point for maybe pilots who like to fly larger quads, or maybe micro pilots who want to feel like they're flying something larger. This platform, and not necessarily just the Kayu, right, but 2.5-inch, especially around this weight, and especially with the motor combination they have going here, is just something really special, I gotta say. And I really enjoyed flying it. I like the 04. I had this built up with Walk Snail as well. Walk Snail was no slouch. It was pretty darn good, especially with the V3 camera. It looks really good. So you don't need DJI by any means. You can put HD0 on here and get that aggressive flight performance, that low latency that you'd be looking for if you're looking to freestyle it and bash it around. A lot of different options with this frame suits a wide variety of pilots. Can't recommend it enough. I really can't. Stick around for the summary. I got some extra bits of information to go over, where you can get them, when they're going to be coming to the United States, and other things there. Catch you in a minute. And that about wraps it up here for the Kayoumini 2.5-inch 2S French-made micro quad here. Really awesome platform. 2.5-inch really surprised me. I think it's a really good spot for a more aggressive, freestyle quad, more aggressive flight characteristics. Maybe you don't like the float of a 3-inch or the micro feel, I guess, of a smaller quad. This to me doesn't really feel like a small quad. If you skipped around, if you didn't watch the bench or the flight footage, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what we got here. Firstly, this frame is only available, I believe, at the moment in the European countries. I'm pretty sure you can't have this shipped to the US as of right now, but I believe that will be coming soon. I believe they're looking for a partner to ship them out. Maybe Pyrodrome, maybe something else. Unsure about it at the moment, but I do hopefully have viewers that live in areas that you can get this, so this video is for them right now, and for you US folks in the future, you can just want for now, or email Kayu Frames and be like, yo, well, why isn't this available in the US? You're dropping the ball. Tell them Mo sent you or something. That'd be cool. Secondly, if you were to build this up I have mine in digital. I like the DJI 04 system, but Walksnail was no slouch. It really wasn't, especially because you can decase a V2 and you have that V3 camera, that micro camera, the 14x14. Looks pretty darn good, especially for a micro, so you don't need DJI 04. Walksnail works just as well on this platform. You can build it up on HD0. I didn't. That's the only iteration I didn't personally build up, but also would be a great fit, especially if you're hitting the hard freestyles. You know, want the low latency DJI and analog for the lowest weight build, the slam build that I showed earlier at the desk. You know, you can get this thing down to, I think it was, what, 12mm standoffs. It's tight, but it flies really good. So, you know, you got all the options. I just like 04 and probably get some extra clicks on the video, being 04 being a recent system as well. One thing that's kind of a necessity on this quad, and I tried a different motor. I tried 1202s, wasn't a good fit. These motors are like darn near perfect, and I don't recommend you try anything else. Straight up, if you're going to build this frame, and this is the motor that they recommend, so I mean it makes sense, but it really makes sense. The 1103s, 8000 kV is the one I have here, right? Yeah, 8000. You can go, you know, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but the 1103 is like a necessity. It's a perfect balance of flight time and efficiency, power mixed with the props, and I again just can't recommend anything else. You can fly this thing on a 380 mAh 2S battery and get 3 minutes on an HD setup, even more if you're on analog. You know, you really can't use a larger battery. 450 is about the most you can get on that top plate. So don't stray too much from the build details that I provided in the desk. Like I said, I didn't build every possible iteration, but really the only thing I want to stress is use these 1103 motors. Use an 1103 motor. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's a pretty easy build. I bought larger spacers, 15mm. They give you 12 and 14mm in the kit. You can certainly make an HD setup. When I had Walksnail, I had 14mm standoffs on there. It was just a little bit too tight for my liking, but you can certainly do it. Just something to keep in mind. 15mm standoffs gives you a little bit of extra room, and you know, you can breathe easy with your expensive HD VTX. Having a little bit of extra space in between the board and the carbon makes me feel a little bit better on the inside. But yeah, I highly recommend you give this a try if it's currently available in your area. It's a pretty easy build and it's a lot of fun. I think it really doesn't fly like a micro. Kayu has all the prints available on their website, different cam angle mounts, different camera mounts. You know, you get some feet protection, you have motor protection, even if you're on an analog build and you're bashing it. So they got you covered there. You can print out anything you want. They're pretty flexible too with getting new mounts. So if you wanted to use a specific cam, I'm sure they'll make one for you as well if you just hit them up. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. Really had a good time with it. Thank you very much to Kayu and Platy for sending this out. Probably one of the few in the US right now, so start the bidding. I'm just kidding, I don't sell my stuff, I give things away. Speaking of giveaways, I know I owe a giveaway for the Pavo 20. It's actually right here still. Hi, it's got my 03 in it. Haven't done much because I just really had been under the weather. So that's going to go out soon, within this week. I'll pick a winner and I'll send that out to one of y'all. Do I have any other things to give away? I think I do. I think I got some Whoop stores to give away in the upcoming weeks. I got to catch up a little bit. But thank y'all for sticking around. I appreciate it, really do. More videos to come. A lot of 04 builds. I got an 04 1S Whoop up there. Man, nuts. It's going to be nuts. I'm really excited for the potential of 04. Really excited to share it with y'all. I hope y'all will stick around. And thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.